One such street is Mary King's Close. It now lies underneath the city chambers, a grand government building on the Royal Mile constructed in 1753. Tessa has met Jan Henderson to find out more about this street.
You're on an extremely steep hill running from the Royal Mile down into Coburn Street. Mary King's Close was on that steep hill. They built the city chambers on top of it.
So quite literally, it's now an underground cavern?
It is, yes.
Right beneath their feet and preserved under the walls of the Royal Exchange lies a rabbit warren of ancient houses, many over 500 years old. Tessa descends into the remains of these streets to find out how life here inspired the world of Jekyll and Hyde.
This is wallpaper from the 17th century. People really did live here. It's very curious in here. It seems we're in an outside street, but yet we're inside, we're covered. How does it work?
In a way, that's exactly what we are. So when you look up, you should see the sky, but in actual fact, there's the floor of the government buildings.
The strength of the volcanic rock on which Edinburgh stands meant that the architects who built the city chambers did not need to create new foundations. Instead, they built right on top of existing houses and simply removed their upper stories to create a level platform. The city in which Jekyll and Hyde is set is depicted as a filthy, impoverished slum.
The fog lifted a little and showed him a dingy street, a gin palace, many ragged children huddled in doorways.
Tessa finds echoes in Mary King's Close.
It's quite hard to imagine what life would have been like. Pretty revolting, I'd imagine, if you lived at the bottom of one of these high tenements.
It was disgusting. Edinburgh had no sewage system. The way, in fact, that they got rid of garbage was to open the windows and shout "Gardez-l'eau," which is a sort of variation on the French "Gardez-l'eau," watch out for the water. Except it isn't water we're talking about, it was sewage, effluents, dead cats, a granny, anything you didn't want in the house. If you were walking up the street and you heard a cry of "Gardez-l'eau" from above, you were supposed to shout back, "Hold your hand!" Which, hold your hand.
Right.
Hopefully that would stop them long enough to give you time to get out of the way. You'd just flatten yourself against the wall, and then the stuff would land at your feet.
Here, it was also desperately overcrowded. An 18th century investigation into the living conditions here revealed 1,000 people living in just one short street.
In terms of who was living where, was there some kind of social order?
There was, and it was a very strange one. Because of the overcrowding in Edinburgh, everybody lived in the same buildings. The rich did their best to avoid the poor under all circumstances, which of course was very, very difficult. But you'll see in some cases, you can see it actually up there, they would build a staircase from ground level up to their own windows so that they wouldn't have to go up and down the communal staircase and mingle with the lower classes.
We can reveal what Mary King's Close looked like before it was entombed under the city chambers. The buildings were several stories high, with the poorest citizens living on the ground floor, closest to the filthy streets. But the extraordinary thing about Mary King's Close is that the street was not abandoned when the chambers were built on top. The poorest members of society continued to live underneath this great building. And they were still here 100 years later when Stevenson lived in the city.
By the time Stevenson was around, it would have been blocked off overhead by the city chambers. Can we be sure he would have actually known about this place?
Oh, he would definitely have known about Mary King's Close. It was famous. He would have come to the old town and seen the poverty and the crime here. In fact, he wrote about it once or twice. And it was unlikely that Stevenson would write about anything he hadn't actually visited.
Grimy, poverty-stricken, and literally buried, Mary King's Close was the template for the eerie, dangerous city of Jekyll and Hyde.